This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to an overcast and cool start to our sunrise safari. It certainly is a change in weather after the last couple of days this week. It's a lot cooler today than it has been. Anyway, my name is Tristan. On camera, I have Morgan. Oh, you got it right today. Well done. Have you been practicing?
Yes.
Morgan's been practicing, everybody, to get his thumb on a camera and not off to the side. Exactly while you've been reading, you've been practicing. We're at Gari Dam this morning for a very good reason. It was, well, sort of a leopard last night in a tree and a kill potentially, so we're just going to investigate that this is a live safari. And so we need your input, and thanks to you guys giving your input yesterday, we got that report. So if you have anything that you'd like to ask, anything that you want to comment on, remember that you can send that through, and you can use hashtag WildEarth at FC on the YouTube chat stream, the various comments boxes of the places that we stream to, and kids, remember to send yours to kidsquestions at wildearth.tv. Good. Morgan, shall we roll forward and see if we can spot said tree? I think I know which tree it is now. I was sent a message. Thanks very much, Elise. You sent me a message about where the tree is. So I think I know which tree it is, and I think I know why everyone thought there was a leopard in it. It's got a very odd little shape, and it can catch guys. I don't think it actually was a leopard, but we're going to check just to make 100% sure. It was a little far and a little too pixelated to make 100% sure, but I think it's just the way the tree was lined, but like I say, I could be wrong. We're going to just go and have a little quick look, and we'll know straight away if there was a leopard in the tree, because it should have a little, it should have claw marks going up it, so we'd be able to. So it's that tree over there, I think. It's that V-shaped tree. So you see the big one in front, Morgan, then behind it is a V-shaped one. From what I can gather on the pictures, it's that tree there that we're talking about. Have you got the right one? I don't have a monitor, so you could be pointing to anyone.
The V-shaped one behind the big tree.
Yes, is that one?
I think I do, yeah.
Okay, well then, do you know what V is? What V-shape is?
I learned that.
You learned that in the ABC book? Oh. Okay, what does V stand for? What was it in the book, in the pop-up?
V-shaped tree.
V-shaped tree. It was a little tree that popped up with a V. Okay, fair enough. All right, let's just quickly go in there, and just in case there is something lurking there, or we find some fur or something. I'm pretty certain that it was just a trick of angles and light that allowed that, but I might be wrong. Like I say, you never know. If a leopard was up there, we'll see evidence of it, which is cool. So that's what we shall do. It's certainly a lot easier now than it was last night to do this. I should have just turned. Oh wait. Morgan, you're a funny guy. Alright, so I'm going to just bumble up the hill here. As I was saying, it's a different start to the day with the weather, so let's send you across to that so you can see what we're going to be experiencing for the duration of our morning. Well, yeah, as you can see, we're going to have a pretty cool day today. It's not going to be exactly hot, and it certainly is not going to be like it has been. Hopefully it doesn't rain though. I'm all for the cool weather, but rain is no good. It's also nice that the wind is not howling Alrighty, so this is said tree here in front. Now the angle of why it looks like there was a leopard in the tree for some reason is that there's like a little stump that sticks out the edge, and then there's like a little piece that comes off one of the branches, and if you're in a certain angle, the little piece looks like almost like a tail coming down, and then the bulge in the middle part is what I think it was. Like I said, I don't necessarily think there was a leopard here. I actually did check this tree last night. I drove right past it. But let's just go forward just to make sure there's no claw marks in there or fur. There's definitely not a kill in it, and there certainly isn't a leopard that I can see this morning. But let's just check. And I don't see any fresh claw marks going up. I mean, I might be wrong, but I certainly don't see it. Normally it would have come up from the side. This would have been the angle of approach. There is a couple little marks on the branches, but that's mostly from elephant. I don't see anything else in the way. And there's no fur or anything down below here to indicate there was indeed a kill, I'm afraid. Anyway, with an investigation, let's carry on and go and see what else we can find. I was thinking maybe heading slowly kind of eastwards just to see where the buffalo herd ended up, and then subsequent to that, you know, if any of the Nkuhuma's pride decided to come and hunt said buffalo herd. That's where I'm thinking I'm going to go. Trying to think which way is going to be the best way out. If we go down the slope or we go towards Gari Cutline. I think if we go towards Gari Cutline, it's going to be easier. Lola, so by choice, yes, there's going to be specific kinds of trees that they're going to like to hoist in. We see in this area a lot hoisted on marulas, because marula as well is quite a plentiful tree in this area, but also they have nice big branches with nice deep V's and easy to hang a carcass as well as to go and sit and sleep in. So that's why they like the marulas here. But a leopard also, unfortunately, has to use a tree out of necessity. So if, you know, they're hoisting kills, sometimes it's because hyenas are on their tail, in which case it doesn't matter. As long as they get it up and out of the way of the hyenas, they're pretty happy animals. So yeah, it's a dependent thing. But here we see a lot in marulas, a lot in jackalberries, if it's on the drainage lines. What else do they use a lot here? I've seen it in knobthorns quite a few times, but that's more necessity. Like I say, it's when something comes and they have to go up. Wattles every now and then. It depends also on the individual leopard. Some leopards are happy for their kill to be quite out in the open, and others like to drag their kills into places that are a lot thicker. We were discussing it last night. Columba's one of those these days. She likes to drag her kills to where you can't see them anymore. So also depends on the leopard. But yeah, marula trees probably here's what we see most kills in. Alright, let's slowly get out of the block. Much easier in the daylight, Morgan. Last night this was not so easy. Should we take Central, Morgan, or should we take Twin Dams? Which one do you think is going to be better? You reckon Treehouse? I mean, Morgan, you know what? I'm going to listen to you today. I feel like it's always so good to us. Although yesterday, I mean, it was great. No wonder it's cold today. Yesterday we had a lion and buffalo at Treehouse Dam all in one day. You weren't, yes, that's true. You weren't with me with the buffalo yesterday afternoon, so we can't use that. No, you're right. Okay, so Treehouse Dam it is, Morgan. Let's put you in charge of today's drive. That way, if we see nothing, we can just blame you and not me for a change. Morgan blames me all the time. He's like, "Yo, showreel's looking thin there, Trist." All the time, guys. You get so bullied on this car, nobody ever hears it. It's just, everyone thinks that I'm the harsh one on Morgan, but it's so much the other way around. Kim, so yes, normally we get kind of hot weather and eventually it builds to a crescendo, which is rain, and more kind of we go into summer, the more that crescendo is then in a big thunderstorm, which rains, and then, the next day the sun comes up and it's all okay. But this weather is more like August weather, where you start to get warm days and then cold fronts that roll in from the Cape. But it's all kind of shifted a little bit. So the last couple of years, September has had weather like this. It's just been far more frequent than normal in the last couple weeks. Normally we'll have in September like 2-3 weeks of warmish weather, and then a cold point will come. But lately it's been almost every 3-4 days. It's like cold weather. Hot weather, cold, hot weather, cold, hot weather, cold. So sorry? Yeah, it's all Trisha's fault, actually. You're right, Morgan. Morgan's saying that it's Trisha's fault because she's in Cape Town and she's sending us the cold front so that she doesn't have to suffer on her own. It's okay, though. We'll send something back her way. What can we send back her way? The wind. We'll send her the wind, Morgan. Yes, you are going back tomorrow, everybody. It is Morgan's last drive today. When are you coming back? Going to Pridelands in November. Oh, a nice long break then, Morgan. Okay, but yes, you can take Trisha present from us. We'll have to think of... Yeah, I was about to say, Cape Town doesn't struggle with wind anyway, you're right. Anyway. Okie dokie. Are you going to go see Trish while you're down there? Okay. Alright, slowly bumbling down Tundams Road now. We're going to cut up towards Treehouse as per Morgan. Let's see what we'll find on our journey. Just going to slowly bumble along. No tracks to speak of as yet. There are reports of tracks for a male and female lion on the western side of Djuma. There's also then we've also got there was tracks for a female leopard on Aubrey's Road, which is where we were tracking that drag mark yesterday, but I know the guys are following up there, so I'm not going to head there while they're busy. There'll be just too many cars in the area, so we're going to slowly meander to our own area. And like I say, everybody, Morgan's in charge of our morning safari, so if we don't see any animals, it's him to blame. Now, it's not just me out here this afternoon, this morning. This afternoon it might just be me, you never know. Yeah, exactly. Tessa and JP will be out. They're just experiencing a few little glitches in their morning's preparations, so they will come out just now and save you all from myself and Morgan and our shenanigans. Also, you know what's also going to save us, Morgan? A herd of impala. Now we don't have to busk and try to be entertaining with nothing. At least we have animals that can do the entertainment for us.
We don't have to try very hard.
No, we don't try very hard, you're right. Yeah, a nice herd of impalas. They've probably just come off quarantine now. Going to make use of this cool weather to go and feed and do their thing. I think you'll find that today a lot of the impalas will not actually venture too far from quarantine. They're not going to go into deep, dense thickets just because at the end of the day they don't need the shade, firstly. And secondly, when it's cool and overcast like this, it provides perfect conditions for hunting. And so going into big, dense thickets when the available light is not good is generally what they try and avoid. Alright, well, we'll probably sit with our impalas a little bit longer. It's a good chance just to listen, see if we can hear anything around us. Well, our adventure towards Treehouse Dam has already yielded success in the mind of Morgan. We have some impala. Morgan, slow down. We're just getting started. We don't need to have so many animals so quickly. It's a slow thing. Can't put everything on camera so fast.
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, it's highly enthralling behaviour watching impalas cross the road. No, I'm joking. It's nice to see some impalas. Obviously, they are very much a common theme on a game drive in the Sabi Sands. But they are a very important species and an integral part of our area, and I feel like we should give them a lot more attention than we do some days. I feel like we often are kind of quite dismissive of their presence within the reserve. This one impala doesn't look great, does it? It's quite skinny. This one that's just crossed the road. So the last one on the back of the herd here. The hips are showing. Some of them are looking a little bit ragged, which is unusual because impalas of all the animals out here normally look the best, and that's because they're mixed feeders, so they have this ability to graze, browse, and find a nutrient value across the board. So unlike the browsing animals, which normally struggle through the winter when they lose leaves, these guys typically can find nutrition in both sort of parts. So they're a bit like goats in many ways. They normally can survive in quite harsh areas. So that one being a little skinny like that could be just that it's kind of the last of winter and it's taking its toll a little bit. And at this time of the year, sometimes what you'll see is mange starting to come through or something like that. That could be just affecting overall condition. They all look pretty relaxed though. It doesn't look like they've had too rough a night. Everyone's just eating and taking it easy. Jackson, this is a difficult question to answer because unfortunately we literally do see way too many impalas and they are tricky to tell the difference. So it's hard to know whether or not a female doesn't have a lamb throughout her life. I don't think we recognize them well enough to know, okay, that one's had this year, this hasn't, like what the kind of birthing rate is for that particular individual. So, yeah, I don't have an answer to that. We'd have to cordon off an area and specifically tag or collar or something an impala, and then you'd be able to monitor it from there to see if she gave birth every year. There's certainly some individuals that are not pregnant at the moment. Most of those will be young females that were born in November, December last year, or even February, March. Their bodies just don't produce for the first year. They only start to breed from the following year. That could be why we're seeing some that are not pregnant. But it's an interesting question. I'm not sure I would know the answer. Maybe some of the ones that have, like the females that have the horns that grow, maybe there's an imbalance in hormones there that might lead to them not producing anything. I don't know. All right, so we're going to carry on. Like I say, you're going to get some relief from the Morgan and Tristan entertainment or lack thereof. Sounds like JP's out and about and all sorted. So let's send you across to him to say good morning.
Good morning and welcome to WildEarth. We're live at Eco Training Pridelands and we started our walk from a little rocky outcrop where we're busy watching the plains areas below us as well as the distant drainage line where we would like to see if there's any movement of animals for the morning. I'm hoping that we can go and find some giraffe as well as elephant. So my name is JP LaRue and behind the camera we've got BK. And meanwhile we're just going to pan on the landscape and let you enjoy the beauty of the surrounds. It's a really nice and cool morning. So after 3 incredibly warm days of temperatures of 37 and 35 degrees Celsius, we're actually very happy to have a little bit of cooler weather, which is actually quite great for walks when it is cooler. It just makes life so much more comfortable here in the Lowveld. Those of you that are not familiar with temperatures of the Lowveld, it can get incredibly hot here, and summers can often peak at 44 degrees Celsius. There's a little town close by to us which is called Phalaborwa, which is actually one of the towns that are known to have the least variation actually in terms of summer and winter temperatures. And our temperatures in general over here in the Lowveld is quite pleasant throughout the winter months as well. And more than often, they're around by 24 to 27 degrees Celsius for daytime temperatures. That's one of the reasons why most guides never wear trousers and always are in shorts. Good morning, Kaya, and welcome to the show. And with regards to your question, if weather like this is better for hunting, it is obviously going to depend on the type of animal or predator species which is going to utilize windy conditions. But I have seen that lions will very quickly utilize wind as the wind starts coming up to use that opportunity for hunting, as it makes it more tricky for the prey animals to actually hear them as well as smell them. We also see quite often when there is wind that predators will actually move diagonally across the wind until they pick up the scent of a prey animal and then start moving into that direction. But yes, with regards to the question, wind will definitely assist with masking their position. A trick of wind like this is when you are walking is that you have to be extra cautious because it's so easy to actually alert animals of your presence when the winds are starting to swirl. And you can also by accidentally walk into them as they don't hear or smell you. We're going to start our walk, and we're also going to just have a look at a few of the trees and plants on these rocky outcrops, and then from there on move on to one of the water holes and see what's going on around there.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
Being nominated to the top 5 and finally being here, for me it's an achievement. Tracks, I believe I did quite well, and the walk.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward.
The storytelling as well. So yeah, I think that's where I see my strongest point. And then,
That was the opportunity of the scraping.
I say the bedding and the call definitely for me, it was quite a big challenge. Guiding is not all about the award that we have had, but in sharing the experience and continue to do what we have passion and love.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
All right, everybody. Well, we excuse me, heading sort of southwards towards Treehouse Dam. There's tracks for a giraffe heading this direction. There was tracks for also a lioness and a male lion heading kind of south and east towards more twin dams, which is Morgan's second request. In your mind, I telepathically read your mind, Morgan. Yeah, so we're going to head that way after Treehouse. I'm going to try and see if we can kind of get to Twin and see what's happening there. And then from there, we're going to cut up slightly to the east, see where that buff herd went. Maybe they went into Torchwood. If they went into Torchwood, that's going to be a bit of a problem. But we'll see what happens. I think if they went that way, then the Nkumas would have found them. Oh, look at that, Morgan. That's exciting. A ground hornbill. Oh, don't disappear, ground hornbill. There, camouflage. Look, it's the perfect shot for you. Great morning light. Lots of camouflage and a ground hornbill. It's like it's your showreel 101 right there. Look at it, hiding behind the thickets. It's terrible. I mean, I think it's artistic, Morgan. Abstract, exactly. Can you at least see it, Morgan? Did you spot it?
You can see a shape moving.
A shape moving, yes. Well, everybody, that is a ground hornbill. Unfortunately, our ground hornbill sightings here in the Sabi Sands are not quite like those of the Kruger National Park. No one here feeds them, so they're not inclined to come running to the car like they sometimes do in Kruger. There's a tree in the way. Are we good now? What if I roll forward, because there's a nice gap? I mean, I don't want you to get too excited, but let's just try, okay? And just try go forward, Morgan. And maybe through here. Oh, even better shot. We now even have a bit of distance from us as well. There we go, look, it's coming out into the open. Strange just to see the one. Normally we see a pair around quarantine, so I don't know where the other one is. Maybe it's also walking somewhere in there. We just can't see it because of how clear and beautiful this open view is. I'm sure it's maybe just behind the 75 other sticks that are in the background. But I love watching these birds. These guys are amazing. They are insane predators and super cool looking creatures. They just kind of look like they're from a bygone era. I mean, not that you can see much of it right now, but that red face and big beak and black body, they seem like they could have been something out of a mythological book. Anyway, it's gone, Morgan. I'm afraid not even now can you even see it, so I will not punish you any further by forcing you to. Treehouse Dam winning. You see? Wonderful start. We're right there. It's going to come down to the dam. Watch this, Morgan. All right, down the slope we go towards the waterhole. Pretty sure we're going to find exhilarating stuff here. In the meantime, though, talking about exhilarating, you can have the opportunity to join the eco-training crew at Pridelands as they go about their daily business.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. So for those of you that has just joined us, I'm sure you just saw the Eco Training promo. So if you would like to make use of that discount to come and join us on one of our courses and learn a little bit more about the uses of plants, trees, as well as about animals and a host of other subjects, that's a great opportunity. In the meanwhile, I'm going to share some information about one of the interesting plants that we have in this area. A tree that we are looking at the moment is known as a large leaf rock fig. And you can see how it's wedged itself in between these rocks. Sometimes we'll actually notice that the roots will go up to 60 meters down towards the ground through little rocks and crevices, and it eventually will split the rocks into smaller pieces, so making it very important as part of the whole rock cycle where it breaks rocks down into smaller fragments and soils and assisting with the soil formation. What I do find particularly fascinating about this plant is how it does so through means of mechanical means as well as chemical means to wedge those roots in between there. And what we also see with a plant is that it's got incredibly large leaves. And if you've got large leaves, there's a big area that assists with transpiration as well as moisture loss and creating suction, which allows for nutrients and minerals to be absorbed through the roots. A few other interesting things about the leaves as well. If we do break them off, we'll notice that there's quite often a large amount of latex at the tip. Generally, milky latex is the indicator of toxins or very toxic plants. In this case, it's not have no risk for us in handling it, and it has got and it's not toxic. But what I do find fascinating is that this milky latex is often boiled, and then it's used for actually catching birds. So what you do is you boil that. You actually will put some of it on a branch over here, and you can maybe tie a little insect there, or if you leave some fruits there, those birds will come here and then they will get stuck onto the branch. That's one of the traditional ways that some of the trackers actually taught me how to actually catch little birds. Let's also want to focus in on the fruits over here. Those little fruits that you can see over here is actually a complex flower and fruit combined. And what we do find is that there's actually an association with a specific group of insects with fig trees. And as far as I remember, there's some 847 species of figs worldwide, and each of them has got their own unique fig wasp, which will be responsible for pollinating them. So in this case, we refer to these a combination of organisms and their relationship as keystone species, as they're entirely dependent on one another for their survival. So how it works is that the fig wasp will actually come in through this tiny little hole at the base of a fruit, and then she will lay her eggs on the inside of the different stamens. Now there's short stamens and long stamens inside there, and we find that the females are on the short stamens and the male eggs get laid in the longer stamens. So the males are actually the ones that hatch inside that little fruit before that the females do. But what we do find is that they will bore out some 2 weeks prior to that the females hatch, and then allow for oxygen to come into the fruit. The process of oxygen being brought into the fruit then will assist with the ripening of the fruit and pollen being produced. And the female wasp will then crawl out, collect some pollen on some specialized pollen pouches that they have on their body, and then crawl through the holes that was being created by the males. And then they will go to the next fruit or next fig and complete that whole life cycle. I also quite enjoy these little fruits. You can eat them, but they're not quite ripe yet. Give them another 2 weeks or so, then I'm definitely going to make my way up here to come and enjoy a few of them. But you'll normally have to check inside that they don't have too many insects. Quite often the insects also crawl into them. So other than me that enjoy those fruits, African green pigeons are another bird species that loves them, and we'll most likely start seeing them focusing on the fruits very soon. Well, let's go and see what Tristan is up to, and hopefully he's got some animals for you at a waterhole.
Well, you have made it to Treehouse Dam, and there's this exhilarating action. Morgan is showing me a picture before we went live that made me get the giggles. Apologies, everybody. Are you going to get that one, just by the way? Morgan is showing me a picture of a tattoo gone wrong of a lion, which was quite something. It's not something would ever want on your body, but people get these things done. Anyway, Treehouse Dam, I mean, I know it's shocking everybody, but there's nothing here today. There's no surprises for us. Morgan, is this what you're thinking was going to happen?
It's
Amazing. Enthralling filming, isn't it?
You couldn't ask for anything better.
I agree, we couldn't ask for anything better. It is quiet at Treehouse Dam, bar the resident catfish that seem to be having a good time. They seem to be blobbing about the place, causing a few little stirs on the surface. A couple bream probably doing the same thing too. But no tracks to speak of. Part of the reason why I agreed to Morgan's proposal of coming towards Treehouse Dam is because the buffalo came from this side. So if lions were going to be trailing buffalo, well, we would have picked up their tracks coming through this way and trailing the herd. So now we shall endeavour to find where the buffalo went and see if any other lions kind of picked up where they went and followed them. But yeah, nothing at the dam itself. All right, Morgan, let's carry on. Let's go and see if we can actually find something. Where else would you like to check today besides here? That's also true. Rato, you're asking about giraffe interacting with each other? Is that the gist of what the question was? Sorry, when Morgan, he was being so loud on the back here. There's definitely no tracks coming down this way. Lions and leopards, not giraffe. I got that completely wrong. Apologies, everybody. Apologies. So lions and leopards, yeah, they interact with each other. Not by choice, I don't think. But yeah, it happens. I mean, look at yesterday, Marips and Ngala Pride were right next to each other. In the morning before we got to either of them, they had bumped into each other and the lions had chased Marips. So yeah, they do interact. They're part of the same environment. They have to use the same areas, water holes and hunting grounds. So it's inevitable that they're going to interact at some point. It's just not something that they either, well, I mean, lions don't care as much as a leopard. A leopard is really not happy when it comes across lions, whereas, you know, lions seeing a leopard is not ideal, but it's not going to worry them as much as the other way around. But yes, they definitely do bump into each other quite regularly out here. Lots of leopard kills are also stolen by lions, even treed ones. This whole fallacy of lions not being able to climb is complete nonsense. Lions climb very, very well. They just don't exit very well from the tree. So it's all a bit awkward coming down. But going up is pretty easy. We've had multiple sightings of even big male lions climbing quite big trees. Remember one of the Birminghams stealing a kill from Tundi up a tree. I believe there was a sighting recently of one of the evokers, I think it was Blondie, being up in a tree and just standing there, so he had nothing to do. And then there's multiple different videos of lions across the Sabi sands trying to get to leopard kills and do their thing. Alrighty, so no tracks for those lions coming down Weaver's Nest Road. And we're just going to go to Twin Dams and then we'll come up a little bit and then go a little bit more east. I'm pretty sure that buff herd headed towards the Mulawati side, and then from the Mulawati maybe they either went towards the treehouse, towards Torchwood, or they turned and they're going to go up towards Gari and they'll pop out. I don't think anyone saw them at the dam last night, at the dam camp. So I suspect that they might have gone that way. And if they've gone east, then we've got a very good likelihood of the Nkurumas back and maybe being on our side. So we'll go and check around. The dogs, unfortunately, were just not going to be in our range. They were right on Gari Main and heading south, so by the time we got there, they would have been gone, unfortunately. They love this weather. This is perfect wild dog weather. They can go absolutely crazy in this weather and not overheat or anything like that. Morgan, you spot any buffalo from up here? No. It's a good place to look because you've got this rolling kind of vista that goes east and onto a big slope on the other side, and so if there's buffalo herds you can spot them quite easily from up here. But as Morgan has pointed out to all of you, there is no buffalo herds at all. A lot of giraffe tracks here though. Weird how many there's been. You know, we normally get an increase in our giraffe when the knobthorns are flowering, but the knobthorns have long since flowered. So I'm not sure why they're all still here. Maybe it's because we're starting to see the other trees beginning to bud. Maybe that's why they've stayed. We had quite a nice long flowering season for the knobthorns this year. So maybe that's the reason. Okay, I'm going to head off to Tundams and then, well, I don't know, I'll think about where I'm going from there. In see if we can find some semblance of an animal in that direction.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're sitting on top of a rocky outcrop and just enjoying the views of the surrounding area, as well as the clouds moving in front of the sun. So we're just going to be dead quiet and allow you to enjoy the landscape, as well as watching how that cold front is approaching us over the low veld. Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're still up on top of our little rocky outcrop, just watching the cold front as it approaches and how the sun has just popped out. This created quite a beautiful opportunity for taking photographs. We're just going to sit here a little bit longer and then we're going to start moving off and go and see what we can find. If there's anybody that has any questions that they would like to ask us in the meanwhile, we'll gladly answer those for you. Me in the meanwhile, just make myself a little bit more comfortable while I'm sitting here. Good morning, Wyatt, and welcome to the show. Yes, it is true that they can communicate with one another. And one of the ways that they can communicate is actually by means of chemicals. And we find that there's two groups of plants that we have in this area, the Vachelias and the Senegalias, which was previously known as Acacias, as well as a group of plants that are known as Combreatums, which has the ability to pump chemicals into the air when they are browsed, and they will then respond on that, or other trees will respond on those chemicals that they will pick up, and immediately that they will start also increasing their tannin levels to protect them against browsing antelopes and species such as giraffe. Good morning, Owen, and welcome to a show. And with regards to your question, does drastic weather changes influence animals? Yes, it can. And I have seen in the past where a lot of young animals haven't made it, especially if it's been in the summer and suddenly you get a very well-developed cold front that comes through that area and they've not adjusted to those extreme temperatures, and that can affect those young animals as well. And quite often we can see that with sick, weak and old animals, that a sudden spell of cold weather can also affect them. I've also noticed over the years that in the Lowveld, if we have sudden spells of extremely cold weather, that it can even affect fish populations by killing them off, especially when they are not had an opportunity to acclimatise to the temperature change over a period of time. Even although water does have a more consistent way of keeping or retaining temperature, but water temperatures can drop so quickly that it will then affect them. We also generally see with days like this, when the weather is cold and it's windy, that a lot of animals will actually move out of the thickets and out of the areas where they can potentially be caught by predators, and they'll actually go and lie in flat, open plains areas. But they try and lie as flat as possible to reduce their surface area so that wind chill factor doesn't have too much of an influence on them. But they rather will be exposed to the cold and to the wind in that open area than to be caught off guard by another predator or a competitor, in that case, if it's lion or other predators, by being in a thick vegetated area where they can't see or hear them approaching. So many times if you are on a windy day, the places to go and look for is sodic areas or sodic sites, which is fairly open areas, and that's where you're very likely to see lion lying up or a number of different plains game species resting at that point. We're going to start moving on and go and see what else we can go and find. Let's go and say good morning to Tessa.
Good morning, everybody. I am Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on Dam Cam this morning here on Djuma at Voyatella Dam. I'm actually just watching Dark Mane having a morning breakfast and quenching his thirst. Absolutely incredible. I've had some vehicle issues this morning with Wendy, but I think it's worth it. Can see it is quite windy. The camera is actually blowing. Joseph, absolutely. Lions would be much more active in this weather. So would leopards, hyenas, wild dogs, all of the predators, because it's nice and cool, which means they can move around without getting too hot. But the wind is actually the biggest factor here, because lions, leopards, wild dogs, they would all use this wind to hunt very, very efficiently. So for Dark Mane, it would be very easy to cover the sound of his approach with this wind, as well as blowing his scent away from whatever he is stalking. So he'll always stalk upwind in this kind of weather. So for example, the wind is coming from the right to the left. So if he was stalking, say, an impala, the impala would have to be on the right of the screen, he would have to be on the left. And so he would actually come from downwind. He would use that wind to cover the sound of his approach, but also to blow his scent away from the impala and to blow the impala's scent and sounds towards him so he can gather more information. So it's a very good hunting day for all the predators on a day like today when it's overcast, it's drizzling a little bit here and there, and it's very, very windy. You can see he's taking a very long drink. You'll probably find he did not drink during the night. So you can imagine this is quite a vulnerable position for any animal, but even the predators. When you're lying kind of with your front legs bent, nose down to the water, your rump is exposed, your rear end is exposed, but at the same time, you're hearing the sounds of the water, you're hearing the lapping that you're making with your tongue. You can't be as aware of what is coming from behind you in a position like this. And to make a quick escape, he will need to see something coming. So that's why he's chosen a fairly open stretch of the dam, where there is a bit of open ground around him. And you'll see while he's drinking, watch his ears there. They are moving from side to side. And at the same time, occasionally he is moving his head from side to side while he drinks, so he can have more awareness of what is around him. Alright, so I'm going to see where he goes from here. You'll probably find he goes back towards the drainage line, but how lovely to see him quenching his thirst in all his glory this morning.
Civilized to just found some black rhino tracks, a mother with a calf. The calf tracks are so small. They're somewhere here in this area, but it's too dense to walk this way. So we're gonna walk around where it's not so dense. Let's hope we get lucky.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward and deposit the scent mark, which is what they use to patrol their territory.
We managed to get a glimpse of the black rhino, but for safety reasons, of course, we held back and we walked a different way, but it was such a fantastic experience. We didn't just focus on the big things, because it's not all about the big things. We focused on army ants and lots of dung. Civilized did an incredible job, but it's up to the judges now.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth.
Well, we're at Twin Dams, just hanging out with some Egyptian geese. No sign of anything here. The buffalo herd that we were looking for to see if maybe the Nkumas trailed it, they crossed here. They obviously drank at Twin Dams and then went south into Little Gowrie. I can actually hear them from here. They're not far south of where we are. I know that the guys said something about the Nkumas. What's that? Is that a leopard through there? No, it's not. It's a young kudu. But it's far away, Morgan. Don't be like that. I just saw something move through the bush and it was dark and spotty, and I've seen leopards do it here so many times in this particular spot. There's like a little path that they use south of the road, and I've been caught by them a few times where I'm like, no, it's nothing. And then somebody will be like, oh, yeah, there's a leopard here. But no, it's just a young little kudu that's walking through there. Right height. Anyway, So yeah, I can hear the buffalo close, and like I say, somebody reported the Nkumas somewhere in the east, but the comms are so shocking I can't hear half of what's going on. So yeah, unfortunately, that puts an end to that idea. What I'm going to do is just carry on towards Chitwa, just go see if maybe Marips is still hanging around there. We know that he was busy and kind of around Chitwa yesterday, so I'm sure he'll still be somewhere in that general vicinity. Given that our dam tactic for the morning is not working, we are finding signs of things, we're just not finding them themselves. I also don't want to go to the dam camp to where Darkmane is. Poor Tessa doesn't have a lot of ability to move now that she's on the camera. So, you know, we'll leave her to at least enjoy him. See everybody, Morgan's bullying me again. He's saying to me it hasn't gone that bad, I just saw a leopard. I didn't say a leopard, I said, is that a leopard? I didn't say it is. Benjamin, you're asking what would be the reason an animal leaves a fresh kill. So, could be a number of things really. Water, they'll leave a kill sometimes to go and get water. Sometimes it's just to do with potentially another predator that's around and they're scared of it, so they'll move off. Yeah, there's a couple of reasons, but very, 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 very seldom does that happen. Most animals will try and utilize the kills that they have for as long as they can. The one animal that does leave fresh kills is cheetah. So they eat themselves, they're super full, and if there's still stuff left, then they just leave it and carry on. It's going to be one of those days, Morgan. Tracks for a female leopard crossing here into sea. There's tracks for a leopard here. Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, we're going to carry on towards Chitwa in the meantime. Let's send you across to Tessa.
So I am sitting watching nyalas and impalas coming down. You can see them coming through the thicket at the back there, and Darkmane seems to be behind this bush. He lay down on the top of the bank. I cannot see him at all, but he definitely has not moved from that spot. So what is intriguing me is that you can see in the background there a lot of movement, and those are impalas and nyalas coming down, possibly to drink, and they're walking almost straight towards him. Lincoln, yes, Darkmane would hunt on his own. All animals that are predators are opportunistic. So if something presents itself, Darkmane will take a chance, and he might actually end up tackling one of them. That being said, as they get closer, the direction they're walking in, although they're walking straight towards him and he might be hidden, the wind is actually currently blowing from that bush down to the left, and if they come closer to the dam, they're going to walk into that wind and they're going to pick up a scent. So if they keep walking kind of straight at a diagonal angle down to the right, then they might actually walk into it and not pick up on his scent. But at the moment, they're probably going to turn a little bit and might pick up on his scent. So he would try if the opportunity presented itself. It would be very, very cool to see. But yeah, I don't know if he'll get it right this morning. I haven't seen any movement from behind the bush, but I did not see him come out from there. Some birds landing next to the dam camp. Unless there is some serious trickery of angles here. I think they're about to walk just in front of him. I'm holding my... I'm gonna wait and see what happens. I think they've smelled something as off their paws. I'm hoping there's not a trick of the angles here and that dark mane is right neck. Wait and see what happens. Let's send you over to JP in the meantime, who's got something on bush.
Good morning and welcome back on Bushwalk. At the moment we are looking at a regurgitated ball of fur, but has a number of bone splinters as well as hooves and pieces of keratin over here, which has been left by a hyena. And the reason why all these little things are inside this ball of fur is to actually protect the intestines. So what they will do is the fur combined with the bones and things that's wrapped inside it will be regurgitated so that the bone shards don't cut the inside of the stomach. We also find that the keratin, which the hoofs consist of, is also indigestible and therefore gets regurgitated. There's actually very few organisms on this planet that can digest keratin, which is a substance which both the horns as well as hooves are made of, as well as hair. And one of them is a moth, which is known as a horn moth, which will lay its eggs quite often on these little hooves as well as horns that's remaining in the bush. And then the larvae will develop on there and feed on the keratin. It's also interestingly a close relative to the cloves moth, and they reckon that they could determine precisely when the cloves moth branched off from the horn moth, and that was roughly at the same time as the humans started wearing clothes. It's not the only animal that will actually use hair or other substances to protect its stomach and then regurgitate the remains that's inside there. We also find a number of different bird species that will utilize a similar strategy, and one of them is the grebes, which will often feed on feathers to line the inside of their stomach so that the spines of the fish doesn't damage the intestines, and then those little feather balls will get regurgitated. Well, we're going to move off and let's go and see what else we can go and find. Well, we're out and about and we can go and see if we can find something else to discuss. Let's go and see what Tessa is up to.
Alright, it seems like the Ngala were just about to drink and then they spotted him or smelled him, and they have now scattered a little bit. You can see they're standing at different places, kind of spread throughout the thickets. Not really sure if they want to come back down or not. He is still just lying down, I think, behind that tree. He hasn't moved. They spotted him, unfortunately. And they've kind of moved off to a distance. Very interesting to kind of watch them standing around, not really sure where they want to go from here. Because now that he's lost the element of surprise, he won't go for them. It's an open area and they will very easily outrun them. will easily outrun lions. They're running again. Unreal. They're very nervous, jumpy, because they can smell him, they've seen him. So any little movements from anything around them and these Ngala are running. Gabriel, yes, the different weather patterns and the rainfall and everything like that will affect animals and their movements and patterns in the summer. You can imagine in the winter, when there's not enough food, there's not enough water, animals are very reliant on the drainage lines in the areas like dam. And so they will be moving down to these areas. They'll move very far distances just to get to these areas. And this is when you might find, for example, with leopard territories, that you'll have overlapping of territories at some point because they will all need to try and access water. When you then change it over to something like impalas, they can feed pretty much anywhere, although the more nutritious grass is around drainage lines and water holes, so they'll have to come closer for that. In the summertime, when there's a lot of rain, there's sometimes quite a bit of wind as well, and on top of that, the grass and the trees are quite green. The animals won't need to move far distances to find water because there'll be puddles everywhere, there'll be mud wallows that are full. So the water and the food will be plentiful, which means the herbivores are spread out. They can find water almost anywhere. And then the predator territories will also change because they follow prey, but they're also following the water. And so it'll definitely affect their movements. That's why you might hear people say that wintertime is often the best time for predator sightings for safari, because they have to move further to find water, and at some point they have to come to watering holes. So it can be easier to pick up on their track and to find them within the territory. Also, the vegetation is a bit thinner and the grass isn't as long, so they are easier to spot than in summer. But it will affect everything from insects right the way up to elephants, everything in between. Very interesting changes that happen with the weather. That's when you're 14 years old. Yes, lions would eat a bird if it presented itself. I wouldn't imagine they would actively hunt birds. Leopards will actively hunt birds. But if a bird presented itself close to lions, they definitely would catch it because they're opportunistic and they would eat it. That being said, it would have to be quite a big bird to fill the void. So they'd probably only really go for something bigger. Cubs, though, in particular, when they're learning to stalk things, will even stalk things like crested francolins and those kinds of things. So they will go for birds, but they've got to weigh it up between energy spent and reward gain. And for something as small as a bird, you're going to be spending energy for something that's going to last you, a few minutes and won't fill the stomach for very long. So cubs in particular would be open to chasing birds and things like that and eating them because it's all part of experience. But for an adult, it's a lot of energy spent for very little energy in from the bird itself. So you'll find adults don't really worry too much about that. They'll go more for things like impalas, wildebeest, zebra, kudu, nyalas, whatever might be around, unless a bird absolutely, presents itself in front of a lion's face, especially an adult lion. Right, I'm going to give the dam another scan and just see what else might be around. It looks like Dark Mane has found himself a comfortable position and is not moving very far. Unfortunately, I don't have a very clear view.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're still walking around the rocky outcrops and exploring these areas in the hope to find a few interesting things. Our plan for this morning was actually to start walking the drainage lines, but very quickly the wind came up, and we'd rather try and avoid those thick vegetated areas on strong windy days like today, so simply that we just don't bump into animals by accident. So we're going to sit up here on the rock little outcrop and then just enjoy the scenery for a little bit longer before we move on.
Well, you're back with us. Unfortunately, we had a nice sighting of the Talamati Pride, but we had no signal, so we had to leave them. They crossed into Little Gari as well. They're hunting that herd of buffalo, so where we saw the buffalo tracks cross, so it's a little bit down from there. We found them coming over, watching the buffalo and heading into Little Gari. That side, it was the 8 Talamatis, so sub-adults and the older lioness, no sign of purple eye, and then obviously the other 3 are missing, and only 2 males as well. So for those of you that were wondering about the Talamatis, it's exactly what we thought was going to happen. You get a buffalo herd and the lions roll in. It's like clockwork. It's amazing how those herds just attract the lions. What's going to be interesting, though, is that the Djuma Pride is south of the buffalo herd and then Talamatis are north of the buffalo herd. So I wouldn't be surprised that ends up in a big story with them fighting. So I would expect if the Talamatis grab a buffalo, they're much closer to the buffalo than the Djumas. If they grab one, the Djumas will come running. And then it will actually be very interesting to see what happens there, because there's a lot of lions and it's quite evenly matched, although the Talamatis would be slightly outnumbered. I'm not sure actually what would happen there. Just stopping, just have a quick scan down towards Chitwa Dam wall, just in case Marips is down there. Been so many lions the last few days here that I don't know where he would have gone. Morgan will know where they left him yesterday, so we'll just scratch around and see if he's not still lurking in that area. The guys say that they drove this road, but that's impossible because I can see hippo tracks on top of the vehicle tracks here, so there's no ways that they drove here. I think the guy's still fairly new and doesn't quite know the area very well. So I don't think he actually drove where he thinks he drove. So Morgan's saying that he was left just at the bottom here somewhere, so I'm sure he's not far. Although these days he wanders a little bit. Might have gone up towards Torchwood again and crossed into, towards the Leadwood Dam with all the lion activity. Maybe he thought best not to hang about this area. But let's check. Like I say, it's worth scratching around for him. Maybe his mom is around as well, or Chava would be nice. She's always someone that can make an appearance at Chitwa. Do you leave him here on the rocks, or? Okay. That's a very dependent on size thing. So here's tracks for Tundi. Big male crocodiles are going to be a lot stronger than a female lioness, or a lioness, so you don't get female lions. Looks like her tracks go up here. I just want to check quickly. So yeah, it will just really depend on the size of the animal as to which one is stronger. But if it's fully grown, then yeah, I would probably put my money on a crocodile actually over a lion. Tundi just went straight north here. She must have come past where Marips was down below here. These tracks are quite fresh. On top, there's a little bit of moisture that came down yesterday or in the evening, and this is on top of that, so it looks very much like the buffalo tracks and lion tracks that I've seen this morning. And I'm sure she's gone into Torchwood, unfortunately. I know she likes to come to these rocks as well. She likes to sit here and down in the drainage line. Let's just check carefully. Oh, she's still going straight north. Alright. Also, I can't go into Torchwood right now because there's two vehicles that are in there already, so it means that I can't follow these tracks any further. Also tells me that more than likely he's gone over as well. He won't have stayed if she's gone. Alright, so I'm going to just make 100% sure this track crosses north. In the meantime though, let's send you across to a clip of what you could experience if you come on a Djuma expedition.
I'm just slowly panning around the dam, having a look what other animals might be around. The nyalas have moved off because Darkmane is still lying behind the bush. Unfortunately, I can't see him there, but I know he is there. And so I'm just listening to the bird life and just scanning around slowly to see what else there might be that comes down. You can hear the Egyptian geese. They are definitely around. It's a breeding pair that has been here for quite a while. And and unfortunately because of dark mane they've actually moved a little bit off the bank. I can't see them, but I can hear them. You can hear how windy it is. It is incredibly loud for the wind. Sandy, yes, there are definitely different things to consider when you're guiding in a new area. The first is that you need to become familiar with the animals that are there. So, for example, the character profiles. So things like, learning the different leopards and their history as opposed to, the animals that I've known. You obviously kind of know the general habits of the animals and their lifespans and things like that. But learning, for example, that Marips was born in March 2020, so he's about a year and a half old. This is the history of the Kalamati Pride. Those kinds of things when you're moving to a new area is good to know because it enhances the experience. But at the same time, there's much more practical things to consider as well. Becoming familiar with the map so that you don't get lost. Becoming familiar with your sense of direction because you're in an area that you don't know. But one of the most important ones is actually becoming familiar with the protocols in place at whichever place you're going to. So looking at what are the protocols in terms of how many vehicles in a sighting, how do we follow animals, which animals don't we follow at night. So things like wild dogs, which we don't follow during the night, only during the day. What is the off-roading protocols? Are there any? So it's things like that, even radio procedure, because especially on a property where you've got traversing, so you can move over into other properties, it's very important to have a functioning radio system and communication system. So there's a lot of small things you'd need to consider and a lot of really big things to consider as well, like those protocols of where you are. And then, of course, just dealing with the fact that you're going to get lost quite a few times, especially at night. And, just kind of learning those things. But it's always fun. It's always a great experience to go somewhere new, experience a new place, and find your feet there. There's no better way to do it than to throw yourself in the deep end and learn on the job. Also probably a good idea to be familiar with distributions. Ezra, yes, hippos definitely would be more active in this weather because they are so sensitive to dehydration and sunburn. They're normally under the water during the day, but it's overcast, it's windy, it's cold, so they wouldn't need to worry too much about the dehydration factor during the day-to-day. That being said, hippos also come out at night for other reasons too, and so you might find they might still stay in the water even though it is cold and only come out tonight. Also possibly part of a predator avoidance strategy, that they're not so easily seen. See the Egyptian geese now coming up on the bank here. So they've moved themselves to the opposite side of the bank from where dark mane was, which is a very clever strategy. I don't think they're too worried that he's going to go for them, but it's always just a good idea to be safe rather than sorry. I think on a windy day like today, you might find a lot of animals are moving around, so you never know what's going to come down to the dam, but it's always a great opportunity for birding, even on a windy day.
Free diving is the purest way to experience the great African sea forest. Silently gliding through the long kelp fronds allows you to reconnect with nature and explore this enchanted world. Sea Forest is a brand new daily experience coming soon on the WildEarth channel. You will explore an underwater forest live from Cape Town, while a team of naturalists explain what we are seeing.
Like trees in a forest, these kelp provide food and shelter for many, many species.
Magical encounters with shy marine life, crustaceans, sharks, seals, and so much more will all bring a window of calm into an otherwise chaotic world.
We're in the center of the reserve. It's a much more open area, so a completely different experience. It's also in the afternoon, so just a little bit hot, shall we say. We're following some lion tracks, and then we found the scat of a lion cub. So we didn't see the lions, but we decided to leave the area. It was getting a bit too dense and a bit too thick. So we've come all the way down to the water hole to have a little break, and then we're going to keep walking and see what else we can find. And TJ himself actually reminded us at the start of the walk that when you're on the vehicle, it's all about observing. But when you're on a walk, it's all about immersing yourself in nature, being part of the ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened today.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oof!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back in Bushwalk. At the moment we're looking at one of the trees that belongs to the pea family group, and this is one of the flaky fawns. In the past, these trees were referred to as acacias. Now, depending if they've got straight or hooked fawns, we'll refer to them as vachelias when they have straight fawns, and senegalias if they've got hooked fawns. A few things that I find particularly interesting is that many of the senegalias as well as vachelias are very good pioneer species, and one of the reasons why they're pioneers that can occupy areas which has been disturbed is because they have a relationship with nitrogen fixing bacteria in their root nodules, which increases the nitrogen in the soil. It also, nitrogen will then diffuse into the soil and enrich it, but other plants can also make use of that. What I do find interesting is that many of these hardy plant species that are pioneers that can establish themselves in areas which has been disturbed either by mechanical means or due to overgrazing and overfeeding of a number of different animals that might have occurred there. They will then act like small little plasters on an open wound that then will heal that area. But healing always takes over quite a lot of time, and sometimes the healing process from a pioneer plant community to establishing a climax plant community can take some 30 to 40 years. And what these pioneers do is, already we mentioned that in this case that they can assist with the nitrogen fixing in the soil. We also see that they create shade, as well as they increase moisture levels in the soil, as well as they can create and trap seeds to create seed banks. Once they've done their work, we'll see that they will be replaced by a subclimax plant community, which has a very similar function, and eventually a climax plant community that will take over. We can also see that some areas, the reverse of plant succession can take place, and that's known as plant retrogression, where the whole community goes from a climax community to a subclimax community and eventually back to a pioneer community. And if that area is not correctly managed in terms of numbers of animals that are on that property, it can lead to a total collapse of a vegetation structure and the grasses being denuded and erosion then being set up. As where you don't have sufficient amount of plant cover, erosion can very quickly wash away the topsoils and then alter the whole habitat. Some of the other things that I do find particularly interesting about these plants is that they can create incredibly large fawns. And we also find that the older the plants get, the smaller the fawns will be. And generally to the center of the plant, there will be less fawns that's to the center, where the larger fawns are to the outside to protect it from animals such as giraffe as well as kudu that might be feeding on it. And we've mentioned over the last few days how well adapted giraffe is on feeding on these plants. And they simply will come, they will wrap their tongue around the tips of these branches, pull off the leaves, without the fawns actually stabbing into the tongue, and that's due to that incredibly viscous saliva that they have. We're going to move off and let's go and see what Tristan is up to.
Well, we're still on the tracks for Thandi and Marips together. It looked like they had a carcass that they were dragging, and then they was somehow that all disappeared. So I don't know if it was just like a little small piece or something, and then they've come together and they were playing on the road and lying on the road, very fresh tracks. And then they started walking, and now I've got tracks for lions all over the place as well, so I don't know if they changed direction. And have gone further to the north or to the west, I'm not sure. So we're just checking very, very carefully here in the hopes that they are still moving, but their footprints are very good. So they can't be far. Yeah, I'm hoping she's taking him to a kill. That's what I'm hoping is the case. I think that little piece that we saw there where it looked like something was dragged could have been maybe for the dogs this morning, and then they came in afterwards. It's possible.
Maybe what he just panicked, so I'm going to try to locate him.
It sounds like somebody's just spotted Mulawati with these tracks as well, which is crazy. The other car is just next to us here driving, and they've just seen a leopard run across the road.
Maybe it could be Mulawati, because I book just panic, because that one is very skittish with everything.
It must, if it's him, I wonder if there's not a kill and he found it while they were away. It's possible. There's no tracks for the two of them here. Go ahead, Van. Sorry, Coop, I'll answer your question shortly.
Power line, junction with Papa's road, I book just a brief visual of him. I don't know if it's my bit, just a leg.
Okay, copy. Coming. So just going to quickly turn around because it was on the road that we were on. I wonder if it's maybe because this leopard saw me walking around. Maybe it was Marips and not Mulawati, and he just got a fright when the car came after I'd walked there. But we'll check. But Cooper, why do male leopards not stay with their mom for longer? That's probably due to the fact that the mom doesn't want them to stay with them for longer. They get big and strong, and that means that they eat a lot, and so mom wants to get rid of them as quick as she possibly can in order to try and not only make it easier for herself, but also to have the next litter. So she can't keep males indefinitely. They need to go off on their own and go and do their own thing. Like I said, these tracks were super, super fresh, so that cat must be very, very, well, both these cats must be very close. I wonder if it wasn't Marips that they just saw now moving across the road. And like I say, that he just, because I had walked there, he was a little bit kind of skittish because of that, and once we actually find him with a car, he'll be alright. I don't know. It could be that Mulawati's also here. There's a number of ifs and maybes. front. Sorry guys, it is starting to rain now, so you might see Morgan's hand every now and then, just wiping the lens, otherwise it gets wet. I'm hoping we're not going to have to head back to camp, but it looks like we might to have to go get a roof. It's all of a sudden just starting to rain now. So the last tracks I had for the two of them is somewhere right where I am now. So her tracks are still around here, so I don't know. If maybe it was Marips that ran, but where they were playing on the road is right here in front, and the tracks, like I say, are very, very, very fresh. And you can see them quite clearly on the road here, coming up. Nice, clean, beautiful tracks for her going this way. And then he was cutting up this side. You can hear the vehicle in front here. Let's go just quickly give them a hand and just see if it is Marips or if it maybe is Mulawati. It could be either one. It could also even be Semba as well. Semba can sometimes be a little on the shy side too. Alright, so I'm just going to try to figure out where this leopard went. So I can see the cars on my left here, so I might just do a loop round. Let's see if we can maybe find this cat.
So it looks as though a whole family of impalas is actually on their way down to the water's edge. Slowly moving down from the open area next to the dam. Here a lilac-breasted roller somewhere very close to the camera. This herd actually stretches quite far across. They've been feeding in the thicket. I think the wind has been a bit much for them. They're moving through the open area and down toward the dam. You can see just how strong that wind is when you look at the trees. She looked as though they're dipping into the drainage line there, possibly coming around to the closer side of the dam. There are actually quite a lot of them. I think I've heard of about 40 impalas. And they're coming down in bits and pieces, following each other. There's a coming from closer in as well, so they were actually quite spread out through the thicket. Now they've been coming together and slowly moving off. One very excited impala running through the back. And these two in the front are two of the younger males that are probably going to have to go off and join into a bachelor herd very soon. It seems like there's quite a few male impalas that are running, bringing up the back. Oh, there's another female of this herd. There's a whole herd of about 40 that's coming down toward the drainage line. The wind has picked up. I'm sure you can see that it is very misty as well, and this is actually rain that started coming down. And so these impalas are actually moving away from the open area and down towards the shelter of the drainage line. I think it's just getting a little bit much for them in this weather. And there isn't really any shelter where they've come from. There are some thickets around the edges, but not enough to protect them from the rain. And with this wind, the rain is actually coming in at an angle. So it's not even as though they can stand under a big tree. They need to go all the way down into the drainage line. All right, so while these impalas move into the drainage line and my camera gets very, very wet, I'm going to send you to Tristan, who's had some luck.
Well, we've managed to find our Mareeps. I don't know where Thandi is yet. She, like I say, the tracks were with him, and I think it's because I got out of the vehicle that maybe both of them scattered. He went up on the mound and is sitting there now watching, and I don't know where she went. Maybe she's also just still in this area. They were definitely walking together, and the tracks are, like I was saying, were super, super fresh, so I was pretty confident that we'd find them. I was just hoping to find them together, not separated. But like I say, he might have got a little bit of a fright with me being on foot and then a car all of a sudden making its way, that he got a little kind of jog on and then went up his mound like he likes to do, just to watch what's going on. You can see he's pretty alert at the moment. I wonder where she is. She must be here. I'm half expecting her to pop up too. And the fact that they were walking together, now normally with Thandi and Mareeps, is if they're together, they're going somewhere. It's either for her to go leave him somewhere or to take him to a kill. So I wonder if it's not something along those lines that was happening, and we just kind of, unfortunately, when I got off the car to see which way the tracks went at a junction, then maybe it just kind of split them a little bit. And they'll come back together. If he's looking for her, you'll find he'll start to chuff and make a little bit of noise, and she'll come back, or she'll call and he'll go back to her. But yeah, she's definitely here too. There's no doubt in my mind that if we found him, she's got to be lurking. The tracks are too close together, and you could see where they were hitting into each other. He's looking back at something. Maybe Mom is somewhere on the other side of the mound here. It's possible. He's going to be a bit twitchy, unfortunately, for a little bit. I think he's still still thinking about what just happened. And I love how twitchy he gets. Sometimes his kind of head goes everywhere. I'm hoping Mom has got a kill. There you go. See, he's going down. So I'm going to go around the mound quickly, because if Mom is there, he'll go trotting towards her. Hello, boy. Where's your mum? He's like, great question. I have no idea where she went. Isn't that cool? He's such an epic cat, this. I love spending time with him. He's got such character. I find that these, it's hard not to get attached to these cats in many ways, and especially one like him. He's just always so busy and full of it. I enjoy his demeanor. You see, now he's going to go the other side. Let's see where he ends up and settles. That's why I just wanted to turn off while the other car was moving. He's often is like this. If both cars move, then he'll feel a little bit kind of weird about it. So if just one car moves at a time, then he's much better. Let's see if he'll come back this side, or if he's going to go off the mound. No. It's starting to rain, so I'm pretty sure he's going to try and find some shelter. It'll also make trying to find Thandi a lot easier, because if she walks anywhere, it's going to be pretty easy to see her tracks. Hello, boy. That's a butterfly. You can't eat the butterfly. Morgan, your bandmate is a clown. Can't take him anywhere, you're right. He literally just tried to grab a butterfly off a piece of elephant dung and succeeded in only just breaking the ball of elephant dung into 2 pieces. Very little else actually went his way there. All right. Let's keep up with him and let's see where he goes. He's heading back to where we had the last tracks for her, so hopefully we'll find her there too. Grayson, what a great name. It's my brother's name. So that's cool to hear. You're asking if he'll get any bigger. So yeah, he's still got a lot of growing to do. He's probably only at, I would say, 2/3 of his size, maybe even a little bit less. Maybe still got a bit more than that to grow. So yeah, he's going to jump on something by the looks of things. There he goes. What is he chasing? He's bounding around like a hooligan, but I can't see anything running away from him. Unless it's just insects that he's chasing today. Maybe he's decided snakes are dangerous, scrub hairs are hard work, and so insects are much more fun and more numerous to go after. So yeah, this is where we lost his mom's track, and his track was right there. So I think she must be somewhere in this general vicinity too. Maybe they're on a kill here, and she stayed with the kill and he ran off. It's possible. You can see he's actually looking in the trees as he's walking. So all of the slightly larger trees, he's actually looking up into them. So I wonder if he thinks there's going to be food as well. It's just in this little spike thorn thicket. Maybe Mom is around too. It's a pity that Tess is on the damn cam, because it sounds like dogs are also coming towards Djuma now as we speak. So it's just being pulled in all directions at this stage. What is he chasing? He's running after something. Morgan, if you can keep an eye on him, I'm going to try and get around all of this. Is he still? Where did he go? Last time I saw him, he was right here. Oh, there he is. A wise one indeed. Lots of energy in this cat, and always got a playful demeanor. I think why everyone's become so sort of besotted with him in many ways, is that he has this playful young male exuberance that, we last saw in Hosanna. And so he's one of those that kind of makes everybody sort of fall in love with him. It's such a fun cat, like I said, especially on mornings like this when it's cool and he's, got himself into a situation where he doesn't know what to do with himself, boredom. Then he gets crazy and then runs around like a little bit of a hooligan and jumps on things. You can see now already there's something going on in that mind of his where he feels like he's plotting. Does he have blood on his shoulder there? Looks like he does, doesn't he? There's definitely a little dark patch on his shoulder. I wonder if maybe a little tick that was pulled off by Mom has led to a bit of bleeding on the shoulder. Sometimes get that kind of thing taking place. So what is he watching there? My big head in the way again. Sorry, Morgan. It happens. Unfortunately, it's a daily thing for Morgan. Wonder if that will feature in your show reel. Probably not. It's in every shot. It's in every shot, exactly. Why go under the tree? He really is another story, this cat. He's gonna go looks like he's watching something. And like I say, this morning, it seems like anything and everything is fair game to go chasing. So I don't think it necessarily has to be a prey species that we would typically associate with leopard. I think it can just be anything that's moving, even potentially a blade of grass. If that's what he feels like chasing, he's going to do it. Carson, who's 9 years old. Yes, Carson, they do. All leopards are spotted differently. So they all have different face spots and body spots, and it's how we actually are able to identify them. Here we're lucky because we get to see them so regularly, and we get to kind of learn their appearance from their sort of general face look and their ears and all the eye color. But in many parts of the world, that's not possible. And so you need to be able to use spot patterns on the body and on the face to be able to identify them. And it's like a fingerprint for us as people. All our fingerprints are different. It's the same for a leopard. Their spots are all different. Looks like he's about to go bounding off again. He's very alert at something. It's also starting to rain quite heavily. Delightful. There's no end in sight either, Morgan. I think we're in trouble here. You're not welcome, Morgan. You'll move out the way, Nana. This kind of weather is perfect weather for his mom to be lethal. She hunts in this often. It's like that sort of windy, overcast, dark, little bit of rain now just to create enough noise to hide her movement. So it's perfect conditions for her. I'm hoping she's going to emerge out of the grasses here with him at some point. We've had so few decent sightings of Thandi of late, just like her daughter too, Tlalamba. They've been a little bit kind of flying under the radar, so to speak, and a little bit shy. So it'd be nice to actually get them both together. Morgan, I think we're going to have to put on rain covers fairly shortly before everything gets very, very wet. So Gwen, I don't know if you can give us 3 minutes to do so. All right, try keep up with him, but also just need to put on some rain covers before equipment gets wet. We have enough equipment issues at the moment. We don't need to add more with rain damage.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
We had a very exciting start to our morning this morning. Today, it's our guided sunrise safari with Mike, and we started by looking at the moon through a telescope, which was incredible. It's been a very different drive from all the other ones, very interactive.
Your pig-eared land is something the Hupus have in common.
Hi. This morning's drive with Mike was thoroughly enjoyable. He really engaged us, but we also did some birding, and I managed to add a few new birds onto my list. Overall, every single experience with all the competitors has been really incredible, but it's up to the judges now.
I love being a cam op for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
This looked like some of the last few of an impala herd come down and drink. Oh, and a Ngala. Hello, Ngala. So it looks as though at that time of the morning where a lot of the herbivores are coming down to drink. It's actually gotten colder since very early this morning, but I think they're actually just feeling a little bit safer now that it's lighter and later in the morning, because they don't really want to be around if the predators are still around. Dark mane is still hiding behind a bush on the other side of the dam. And so I don't think they have smelled him, but definitely not a good idea to, you know, just kind of walk around and hope that you don't bump into a predator. They want to be extra careful this morning. You can really see a bit of the rain on the surface of that little pan there. Alexandra, oh, those Egyptian geese are really freaking out. Alexandra, impalas would try to drink at least once a day, possibly more if they need to, especially on a hot day. And I'm not sure how much water an impala would drink, but I should imagine it would be, I mean, that's actually a tough question. Let me see if I can find out for you in terms of an actual amount that they would drink, but I would say, you know, maybe a liter a day, if that. I don't think it would be much more than that, because they are quite small. But I'd say on a very, very, very hot day, yeah, maybe maximum of 1 liter. There was some impala jetting off in the background. I think they saw Dark Mane because he is still hiding in the bushes there. So on the other side of the dam, you can see how well camouflaged he is because you actually cannot see him at all. But he is there, and I think the impalas on the other side of the dam, because the wind is blowing that way, can smell him, where these impalas and nyalas actually can't. They're a lot safer on this side of the dam. Wow, listen to that wind. It's gotten a lot stronger just in the last half hour. It's a bit of a gale force wind at the moment. And definitely seems to be increasing over time, as is the rain. I think it's going to be quite a cold day for the animals today. And the predators might enjoy that, but definitely the herbivores, you can see how nervous they are. They keep looking up, and it's because on the other side there have been impalas running away, smelling Dark Mane. You can see they're not so happy to be at the water's edge anymore. They're moving away. Declan, actually, yes. Predators will jump into the water after animals if they're hunting. Wild dogs and hyenas are particularly good at that. They will go into a watering hole to catch something that's gone in there for defense. Leopards and lions are a little bit less likely to do it. They will do it if they have to, but they are less likely to do it. They're not as big fans of water. And so for them, they would actually prefer to wait it out, because at some point the animal's going to have to come out of the dam again. So it actually just depends animal to animal. Some leopards, I've seen some leopards that really don't mind water and some that just can't stand it. So it is possible. It's not as likely with something like a lion as it is with something like a wild dog. I have seen wild dogs go into a dam after a water buck and an impala, and it's absolutely incredible to watch. Very, very fast. Even on the other side, I can see some movement of impalas coming back. I think with the increase in this wind, they're not quite sure where they feel safe right now. All right, so while I watch these impalas move off to safety, let's go and have a look what Tristan is up to.
We're just trying to keep up with Mareeps. We had to quickly get rain covers on before everything got wet. We've managed to do that and hopefully protect everything. I'm expecting Tandi to appear any minute now, because where we are is where our last track I had for her, and so I'm sure she's here somewhere too. He's just in front, as you'll see now. But interestingly enough, predators collecting or fetching animals from water, I've seen lions do it multiple times, wading deep into water, almost neck deep, to go and grab a buffalo or a kudu or something like that. I've seen leopards with catfish swim to get catfish, but not like deep. It kind of gets to their chest, and then they'll kind of pull out from there if it gets any deeper. There's obviously always the nerves of crocodiles that most cats have out here, and so that's why they sometimes will try and just avoid going into water that's too deep. But if it's like a little puddle or something, I've seen the cats go in quite a few times to retrieve prey. Alrighty. It's a little hairy in here the more we go up the slope before it opens out again. Where is Tandi? She must be here. Like I say, they were walking together. You could see where they were actually bumping into each other. So it's not like she walked first and then he came. They were 100% side by side. And then crisscrossing and lying. He was lying on the road, and so was she at one point. So I'm sure she is here. And like I say, the track freshness is exactly the same for the two of them. Both of them had that moisture on their feet. And were lifting it as they were walking. The adventures of Mareeps. Imagine if all our young boys could write the little storybook of their adventures. How amazing it would be. Alright, let's catch up. Chino, so there's a connection there to their mother for a while. So once he's off on his own, he'll still kind of know that's mom for a while. But generally what happens then is he gets distributed and he gets kind of cast out by bigger, more stronger male leopards. And he leaves his natal territory, and that connection to mom is then completely eroded in time. And he ends up then going off, and probably by then, his ability to recognize mom in 10 years is probably completely diminished, and he won't see her in the same light. By then she would be either a source of reproduction, so to be able to mate with, or an animal to, pilfer a kill from, or something like that. So, I mean, that's mother bond is broken pretty quickly once they go off on their own, and once they eventually head off and kind of become dominant male leopards, which is normally way away from their mom's natal territory. Not always the case, but most of the time it's away from mom's natal territory. He's changed direction now by the looks of it. He's sniffing around. I think maybe this is where his mom was at some point. There's a car, unfortunately, in the background. Apologies about that, everybody. There's quite a dense thicket. I'm not sure which direction he's going to take, so it'd be nice if he goes onto this little mound that's here. It's a beautiful little mound for a leopard. Let me just go forward, Morgan. get in here. I don't think he's going to go up on the mound though. I think he's going to bypass it. This weather is not great. It looks like it's that settling in rain that we sometimes get, which can last for a good couple hours. It's completely whiting out the crest in the background, so it's going to be a kind of misty, wet rain where everything just gets wet and damp and everything seeps into all the corners. So, not the ideal kind of rain to have a car out without a roof on, but it's fine for now. We'll be okay with the covers. Morgan, I hope you have another jersey, because by the time we finish this drive, it's going to be wet. Okay, good, wonderful. Alrighty, we're going to keep up with Marips and see where he heads to and whether or not he joins with his mother. In the meantime, I'll send you off to have a look at eco training and the discount promo that we're running.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're at Eco Training Pridelands, and you've just seen our Eco Training promotional trailer with a great discount that we are offering at the moment for guiding courses. So if you would like to come and join us on one of those courses, you will also be learning more about birds. And I'm going to share you a few of the facts that we normally would share with students about birds. So the birds that we see over here are known as blacksmith lapwings, and generally we always try and give some interesting information about birds to our guests, as well as what we would like to teach to our students. So with these birds, they get their name from the sound that they produce. So this is referred to as a onomatopoeia, where the bird will create a sound that sounds familiar to something that we find in a man-made environment, and it sounds like if it's actually striking steel on an anvil, hence the name blacksmith lapwing. A few of the other interesting things that it does, we discuss with learners, is different types of breeding behavior with birds. In this case, these birds actually have young, which are referred to as precocial, which means that they can actually start getting up very quickly after that they've hatched and start following the parents as well as feed for themselves. Unlike those of birds that are altricial, which needs the full attention of both parents to successfully raise them. We also quite often discuss nesting behavior. In this case, these birds actually produce a very simple nest, which is just merely a scrape on the ground, and those eggs are quite often well camouflaged and cryptically adapted to that environment. And often we also see that they are made between the dung pellets of a number of different antelope species. A few of the other things that we also discuss is general behavior of birds as well as animals. And one of the interesting general behaviors that I would like to share with you about lapwings is that they quite often display a behavior which is referred to as a distraction display. We also see mobbing behavior, and I'll explain both of those to you. So in terms of a distraction display, what they'll often do if they are confronted by a predator, they will actually pretend to have a broken wing or some form of injury to distract the predator away from the nest and the chicks. Once successfully away, they will make their way back to the nest, and hopefully that predator would have lost interest by then. When it comes to mobbing, one of the protective behaviors that they display when there is a predator that does come close by to the nest is simply flying at them, as well as hitting them with a little spur on the tip of a wing and driving that predator away from the area. When it comes to different behaviors of birds as well as animals, I actually find bird behavior so much more fascinating than animal behavior, just because it's so much more complex. One of the things that I've also found particularly fascinating is that birds only have to learn 10% of what they have to do. They're 90% genetically programmed already with a number of different adaptations that they can use as compared to animals and humans, which is 10% genetically programmed with what they need to do, and the other 90% has to be learned over a period of time. Therefore, birds can learn very quickly and adapt to their environments. I also find it particularly interesting watching birds, how quite often they learn to exploit environments as well as different food sources. We're going to sit around the dam a little bit longer and hope that there's some animals coming in for a drink. Let's go and see what the others are up to.
Well, I hope so for your sake, JP. Although in the weather that we're having down here, I don't think there's going to be many animals drinking at this time of the day for us down here. But maybe Pridelands is not getting the rain. It's often like that, where we get it and they don't. Reefs are still just ambling along, investigating and sniffing and watching and thinking about pouncing on various different things. We've seen him kind of watch a duiker run away. We've seen him sniffing around. I don't know if it's trying to find his mom or whether or not he's just looking for basically anything and everything. We'll see. Well, time will tell. But like I say, her tracks were super fresh and they were here, so she must have just been ahead of him somewhere, or I don't know. Maybe she thought she was going to leave him where we found him and she carried on. But I was hoping we would get her too. It's been a long time since I've seen the two of them together. He's watching a zebra. I can see a zebra through the gap here that he's watching. Let me reposition and I'll try and see if we can show you where the zebra is. Wondering what he was stopping to watch. Back a little bit. Okay, you tell me when. A little more. So you might be able to see the bum of the zebra and then his face kind of watching where it is. It's not perfectly lined up. There's too many bushes in the way, but it gives you an idea. Spots and stripes, which is always nice to see. Now, of course, he can't really hunt a zebra of that size, but it's not going to stop him investigating. So we'll see how he goes and whether or not he gets closer and what the zebra do. Well, little Marips has now found himself some zebras to torment. So for now, he's just watching them in the distance. He's got really no shot, but it's not going to stop him. We know he likes to hunt even the largest of animals. Well, not hunt, but, follow is probably a better word than hunt. Try to hunt, or at least in his mind, dream of hunting. Let's put it that way. He thinks he's about 75 times his size and is able to bring down elephants and buffalo and rhinos, and so he stalks up to them. And I think it's more just a game for him. It's just to see if he can get close without them noticing. And then he just kind of trots off. So we'll see if he gets close to the zebra. But zebra are very, very, very good at seeing things coming. They have very keen eyesight. The chances of him getting anywhere near them is probably very slim. He's going to have a tough time to be able to sneak up to those guys. A nice little mound close by. I'm hoping he kind of heads towards the mound and then watches them from on top of the mound. It'd be nice if he does. The zebra will probably run away, though, if he goes up that mound. Emmett, so generally no, in heavy rain, like this is not heavy, so this is good hunting rain for cats. But even if it's really heavy, proper downpours, they generally don't like it, and they try and get themselves under a little bush where they can just hide it out and wait for the rain to subside a little bit. But if an opportunity comes along, so let's say it's pelting down with rain, and they're sitting under a bush and something walks within striking range, they'll still take it. I've seen lions hunting in big storms before, and being successful. So I think it really just depends on the situation. Like anything out here, there's no rule book really for a behavioral aspect of an animal. There's things that we think they do and that we've noticed a pattern of them doing. But that kind of behavior can change according to an area. Remember that animals are super adaptive to the areas that they're in, and so what a big cat does here in the rain might not be the same as what a big cat does in East Africa, for example, or Botswana. It's the conditions and the way things work and the way the animals interact with each other is all dependent on a very specific area, and that's why a lot of the books that are written are based off specific areas, and we see that a lot of that's being challenged. The more people are out, and the more things are being documented with cell phones these days and all those kinds of things. We're seeing that a lot of behavioral aspects of animals is not exactly as we first thought. So I guess the short answer to that is generally not, but can happen. There we go. I think there's one zebra's already seen him. It's just like staring in this direction at the moment. Interested to see if they're going to alarm call at him or if they're going to be pretty chilled and say nothing and just run away. White men, zebras won't taunt him. He's little, he's not a huge threat. Let's just reposition Morgan. So they're not going to taunt him or try and, do anything. They might, if he got too close, they might try and chase him off. So you might find a stallion comes in and chases him a little bit, but they're not going to taunt him, no. It's not quite how zebras work. I'm just going to try and get us into a position that if he comes across, we can actually kind of see a little bit better than what we have right now. I think he's going to use this mound to try and stalk up to them. So you see how he's trying to get behind the mound itself. There's one zebra that I'm pretty sure has already spotted him. That's why he's walking the way he's walking. Silly boy. The zebras aren't food. I know your eyes are big and you think that they're food, but they really aren't. Let's go forward, Morgan, because it'll be cool if he goes up this mound. Kind of get the head of the zebra and him sort of lined up. I'll stop here for now. Just get through here so you don't have to level. I think the zebras are probably watching us more than they're actually watching him. See how he's using the mound to try and sneak up closer. Silly boy, these are not food for you. They're way too big. It's quite a cool shot though with him and the zebra. We just go forward a little bit more because it's going to be a really nice little two-shot here of these two. Is that alright? That's very cool. Silly sausage, Reeps. This is not a place where you can hunt zebras, or you're also not the right size to be hunting zebras. he's thinking about how he's going to get closer to them, but they're going to spot him on that mound. He's not exactly invisible there, so he's going to have to put his head down, otherwise the zebras are going to notice him and run away, which is probably what he wants. He actually probably does want them to run so that he can chase them. Almost like he's like, well, now I've gotten to this point, now what do I do? Can you imagine how many times he does this kind of stuff where we don't even know about, where he's stalking ridiculous animals and kind of going after things that just are completely not what he needs to be doing or spending energy on. It's classic. Harrison, I think you and many others wish they had the same confidence as Marips. He certainly is a go-getter, isn't he? He's not worried about the way that he goes about his business or what anyone thinks. He does what he wants when he wants, this little guy. But like all of these kinds of things, as much as it's ridiculous and he's not, the chances of him ever getting this right is very slim. There is an element of use in this kind of stuff, because what it's doing is it's teaching him to be a lot more kind of, it's teaching him ways of hunting, essentially, so he can figure out ways to stalk and to get closer to animals without, them seeing him. He can perfect technique to try and figure a way to grab things later in life. And while a zebra is a big target and he probably won't ever hunt them again, the same principles apply of stalking and getting close and remaining hidden. That zebra seems to care nothing for him and his approach to it. It's ridiculous in every single aspect, isn't it? He's going to sit there. I've seen some things in my time, but I've never seen a leopard so out in the open and the zebra's actually not in any way picking up that he's there. Like I said, zebras normally have very, very, very keen eyesight. So how he has managed to get to the point he has without the zebra realizing that he's sitting on the mound. Either that or the zebra is just like, what is this ridiculous cat actually think he's doing? There you can see the zebra's... Marips, it's too big for you. What are you going to do when you run there? I'm going to now sit down. Oh, that zebra actually has a very bad limp on it. Or maybe it was just a bit stiff. It'd be a target for lions more than anything else. So cool though to see the two in one frame. It's not very often we get zebra, leopard together. The problem that he has now is even if he wants to get closer, he really has no ability to stalk much beyond where he is at now. There is no cover for him. He doesn't have another line that he can take to get anywhere near them. If he comes bounding down the mound from here, they're going to see him pretty quickly. So I'm afraid for now he's going to have to just sit and watch them. And the likelihood of, like I say, of him actually jumping on one of these is almost zero. I think he would lose his nerve if he got up there and that stallion turned and started to try to kick him and try and bite him and do all the things that zebras can do when they get upset. I think he'd probably bolt up a tree more than anything else. But it was more the fun of stalking that I think he was after. Now, if there was a baby zebra here, a very, very small baby, different story. We've seen a couple male leopards grab small baby zebra before, so that could be something that could happen. But these big adults like this, there's really, I mean, it's even difficult for lions sometimes to grab these big adults. They're strong, powerful animals, are zebras. So this whole notion of him even trying to grab something that big is ridiculous. I mean, I suppose it is possible if he managed to get onto the back of it and then round to the throat, he could potentially execute a kill on it. But I mean, he's not a big male leopard either, so I don't think he'd have the physical power to actually hang on for that kind of ride, because I think that zebra would run him around all over the place and throw him and buck him and all kinds of things. And I just don't know if he has the strength to hold on for long enough to actually bring one down. And on the other side of that is, even if he did, by some miracle, grab the zebra and get it to come down, the noise that will make will attract hyenas or lions, and he won't even get to feed on it. So this is just pipe dreams. It's a young boy dreaming of things that are beyond his grasp these days. He'll learn, though. This is, like I say, all part of learning, and makes for epic sightings for us. Instant? No, I don't think so. I don't think Thandi would be stalking from the side, and Thandi won't even waste her time with zebras. She's too experienced, been around for too long to even try and use energy for something like this. We've seen Thandi even these days ignoring the likes of impalas and rather targeting duiker, steenbok, scrub hares. So she won't even waste her energy with this. I suspect she's just carried on and is scent marking and doing her thing, and maybe stalking the duiker and steenbok of these blocks, because there are a lot of duiker and steenbok in the area that we're in. So I'm sure that's what she's doing. She won't stalk zebra like this, and you can see if she was here, his eyes would be towards her and then back to the zebra, towards her, back to the zebra, whereas his eyes are just focused on the zebras themselves. He's actually going to try. I love it. So what have we seen him actually try and stalk now? We've seen him stalking elephant, buffalo, rhinos, giraffe, zebra, Ngala, kudu, impala, monitor lizards, guinea fowl.
We've seen him get guinea fowl, monitor lizard, and scrub hares.
And we've seen him actually catch guinea fowl, lizard, and scrub hare. So, as much as he's
hasn't caught any of the big five yet.
Hasn't caught a big five member yet, and we say yet in capitals and an exclamation mark, because the way he is going, at some point he's going to get it right. Well, one of his relatives, not his direct relative, but close relative, is Hosana, and we know Hosana had a baby buffalo once, so I wouldn't put it past Marips to get one of those at some point. I don't know if he knows which ones he actually wants to go after, because he's got the one to the left and then there's two to the right that are actually much closer, but he keeps watching the one on the left as though that's a far better option for him. Maybe because it's injured, that's why. I wonder if these zebras weren't chased by the lions last night. The lion tracks were in this area too. Silly Marips. Luckily, the other two zebras are facing away, so he's got no issue at the moment with getting closer to those. You see, that's why he's watching those ones, is because he's like, well, let me get past them, and then if they don't notice me, then I can get closer to this other one. Can you imagine we see him jump on the back of a zebra? That would be absolute chaos. I wouldn't be surprised, but it would be absolute chaos. Now he's confused because he's like, hang on a second, those ones are much closer, but I want to go after this one, but now I don't know where I want to go. Look at that little white tip of the tail as well. Silly boy. I believe the whole of FC wants to see him jump on the zebra's back. I mean, the reality is that it's actually can be pretty dangerous for him if he does do it. A zebra can kick properly, and if they kick him badly, he can get seriously injured here. So as much as it's fun to watch, and the likelihood of him actually getting this right is almost zero, if he does do it and he by somehow mistakes or makes a mistake, he can get a kick in the face that can break his jaw. It can do all kinds of things. So as much as it's entertaining, there's also an element of risk to what he's doing. So he needs to be a little careful about the way that he goes about this. But it is entertaining, at the very least, to see him try. There's an element of ridiculousness about this that amuses me. I mean, he's not even fully grown yet, and he's trying this stuff. I love it. I think it's amazing. But that coat in this light is just amazing how it blends in. I mean, he's sitting literally with not a blade of grass between us and him. And if you drove past here and he dropped his kind of head down, I mean, you could easily just kind of glimpse past that. That spotted pattern really does break up the outline. Morgan, I think he's changed targets now. Too much choice. You see, he's changing targets. Tyler, you're asking if they can tell which animal it is that they're hunting. So they very much are aware of what they're doing and which animal they're targeting. This other zebra's seen him now. He's going to get chased shortly. Or they're going to run, one of the two. But they will pick out an individual within the herd and they'll actively target it. And maybe it's why he was trying to stalk up on that one, because that one had the little gammy leg and a little bit of a limp. So they know that limping animals are better targets. But that doesn't always mean that they grab that one. So if in the chaos of a chase, another one comes their way and is in striking distance, they'll take that one too. Or take that one instead, should I say. Amazing, I can't even see him now. He's just gone completely flat because the zebra is looking at him. If that zebra starts to drop its head again and feed, I think he'll start to move. But you see how its ears are working. I don't know, are you on the zebra or on him?
The zebra.
On the zebra. If you watch the ears, you can see how they're doing all directions, just trying to work out what's going on around him. And the eyes are fixated in the direction of where he was moving. So it's a situation where this zebra knows something is there, but it can't just turn its back on the rest of the environment and only stare in that direction and put its ears that way, because remember, they are hunted a lot of the time by things like lion, and lions potentially can be in all directions. So that's why they'll turn their ears around like that, just in order to hear, in case something is lurking from behind. zebra's almost walking closer just to come and check what's going on here. And if the zebra just makes one snort and runs, it will trigger the rest to go as well. That's why I don't want to start now, because if we start, all we're going to do is startle the zebra and ruin any chance that he's got of having a dream fulfilled. I wonder if he's going to kind of sleeps at night and thinks to myself, one day I'm going to grab one of those zebras. Because it's most certainly is not the first time that he has come across a zebra. I can see him now. He's just popped his head up. He's still watching these two that are on the right-hand side here. So directly in line with where that zebra is now, the middle one, is where he is. Part of me just wants him to come bounding out and then the zebras to run. Just because I think it'll be funny to watch, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to probably just let them go. I don't see his head anymore. I thought he was going to... Do you still see him?
Yep.
Okay. There, I can see him now. Alright, so I think that's that. I think the zebras are about to drift away. We'll see though. Let's see if he ends up kind of following them and kind of trying to get behind them again.
Welcome back at Bushwalk. We decided to come and sit at one of the dams. The wind is blowing quite strong, as well as it looks like if it's going to start raining at any moment. So we're just going to hang around here a little bit longer and see which animals are coming in. So some of the animals that has been coming to visit us at the waterhole were some vervet monkeys, which is one of the 2 monkey species we have in southern Africa. The others were also some impalas. One of the things that we did notice in their behavior is that all of these animals are incredibly nervous. And the reason why is because of a strong wind, which obviously hassles them in terms of ability to hear as well as smell. And this makes them feel slightly more vulnerable towards predators. And predators will make use of waterholes such as these for an ambush point. Especially at this time of year, there's not a lot of other water bodies that surround, and therefore predators will often hang around these pans, just like our lions from a few mornings ago, which was hanging around Leopard Dam, waiting for the buffalo to come for a drink. So while we wait for some more animals to come in, let's just enjoy the surrounds.
I am watching a little bit of commotion here at Vuyatela Dam. It seems as though our resident pair of Egyptian geese has had a challenge come in. There is another pair that has flown in. And so now that they are preening themselves, it's quite quiet, but it has been incredibly noisy with the two different pairs displaying to each other and calling very, very loud to try and show a bit of dominance around the dam. These are the two residents. You can see them walking around with the display there. And the other Egyptian geese are flying around, trying to intimidate them. Very interesting to see this in action because you don't often get to witness dominance displays between bird species. And every time it calms down, they seem to go back to preening and they start again. Actually, the other geese that you can hear at the moment that are still trying to intimidate these two, but they're not giving up their hold on the dam. You can see they are looking quite relaxed, going about cleaning themselves in the rain. It is still raining here. I'm sure they're getting wet and using the opportunity to clean themselves. You can see it's a very interesting display where the neck is heightened and it's a bobbing backwards and forwards, and the wings sometimes go as well and are slightly pulled back so they're not tight against the chest and the side. They're actually slightly pushed backwards to make that Egyptian goose look bigger. You'll probably find these two Egyptian geese, being the resident pair, they are territorial of the waterhole. They will have a nest somewhere close by, either up in a tree or hidden somewhere on the ground. So they're not willing to give this area up at the moment. The same nest that they will use over and over again every year. And here an oriole in the background as well. I think the other two geese are still quite upset, and that's why they are still kind of calling away in the background. So it's only when the other two geese are flying very close by, you'll see both of their heads go up, and then you can actually see these two walking back. And so while I see how this dominance scuffle pans out, I'm going to send you back to Tristan, who is still being entertained by Murray.
The Egyptian geese would probably be getting the same treatment from Reeves. He's still trying his very best to get closer to these zebras. He's just gone round the back of a bush towards the direction of where the zebras are. I mean, he was very close to them at one point, but I think he's lost his nerve a little bit when he realized how big they are. The zebra's also moving quite quickly now, away from the area where he was lying. I can see him still walking through there, following the zebra. Is this fallen over tree here, Morgan? Like straight through underneath it. You see him going across the clearing now? May I just go forward for you, Morgan, just a little bit, just to get you over that little fallen over tree. Also just so that we don't have to have too many cars in the way. But there we go, you should see him now coming out there. Do you have him?
Yep.
Oh, well done. Look at you, Morgan. Look, he's going to get right up to the zebra. Look, look, look. Isn't this cool? I've spotted him. Silly boy. He almost thought about it. He was trotting as though he was about to jump on them. He really is a clown sometimes, this cat. He makes me laugh. You can see he's looking at us as if to say, like, well, yeah, exactly, it didn't quite go according to plan. I don't think he's going to stop either, though, although all the zebra are looking in this direction now, so I think they've all seen him.
Nope.
Nope.
Not stopping.
Not stopping, no. These poor zebra are going to be tormented all day by this. I can see it. He's got the perfect weather to be active all day, so they are going to have a little leopard tail for the rest of the morning, unless they decide to properly run, in which case I think he'll just let them go. But let's see now what he does. And the zebras don't seem too perturbed by this, do they? I mean, I certainly am not the entertaining one in all of this. I feel like it's a Morgan and Mariep show, and a battle off as to who's more entertaining between the two of them. I just facilitate and commentate on the nonsense that I see both behind the camera and in front of it. Oh, I'm innocent, Morgan.
No one believes you.
What do you mean no one believes me? I was saying that you're more entertaining than I am. That's all. Morgan's just laughing behind you. He reckons that I'm the instigator of half the nonsense that goes on in this car, which is absolutely nonsense. I'm angelic. I would never do anything. Let's see now. The zebras are going to come around sort of behind where he is. I think they are fully aware now that he's around them. I don't know if it'll stop him, though. It's quite cool to just see the zebras kind of walking around in the ball behind him in the background. Oh, you've got to love young male leopards. It'd be so nice if we could get one of the young boys onto Djuma that spent some time around camp. They're just such entertaining animals that the more you can spend time with them, the more interesting things you get. And if you just think of the last 24 hours with this cat, he's bumped into a pride of lions, then went and walked off and away from the lions, then walked back towards the lions to watch them. Then elephants chased the lions, so then he came down, walked around, probably stalked some things. Then he's come out this morning and has decided that he's going to walk with Mom for a bit and now chase some zebras around. It's like constant entertainment from this cat in such a short period of time. And who knows what else he got up to during the night. He probably was messing around with all kinds of other animals in the evening as well. But I don't really see him being as kind of interested now. It's almost like the game's up a little bit. Although, let's see. Nope. But Marips, they know you're there. They're watching you. Sorry?
Maybe they forgot.
Maybe in his mind they definitely have forgotten by now. All right. Unfortunately, we are going to have to leave him, though there are quite a number of cars that want to come, and we've been here for quite some time. So we're going to carry on, and we'll try and see if we can come find him again this afternoon and see if he's still messing around with the zebras.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
Either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're still at Ndlovu Dam, and at the moment we're watching a group of impalas that came to drink, as well as a buffalo. Everybody is incredibly nervous with the wind that's blowing because their hearing as well as smelling is being compromised at the moment. And you can see earlier the impala was scattering, and our buffalo bull also just scattered there for a short moment, not being quite sure what was going on. He stopped, lifted his head and pointed into a specific direction. That's quite often when you know that they're actually executing a predator inspection, just to determine what is going on around them. As a guide, if you are walking and their head is up with a nose up, then you know that you also have been detected, and it's then best always to move away from them. I'm not sure what it is bothering this specific bull at the moment. So when it comes to buffalo herd dynamics, we often find that they come forth in groups that are big herds, which is referred to as breeding herds, and then bachelor herds, which is all male groups. And then we also get these lone bulls. And it's these lone bulls that can be incredibly unpredictable, and I've given them a reputation as Black Death, as if they're one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. And one of the reasons why they were originally placed in the Big Five, as they are one of the most dangerous animals to hunt on foot, and especially a wounded buffalo, as they are so quite often been known to kill hunters. So today, the term Big Five is also used for photographic safaris, and as 5 of the animals or iconic animals that everybody wants to come and see in Africa. I just love buffaloes. I often find that they get a little bit of a bad rap in terms of their reputation, and I've had quite a few pleasant experiences with them on foot. And generally, as long as you give them enough personal space and make sure that they have an escape route as well as that you have an escape route for yourself, all is good. I would never recommend to actually push these animals or push them into a situation where you don't have any of those luxuries in terms of your own safety as well as the safety or well-being for the animal, as things can go horribly wrong. I've seen them actually tossing lions up into the air, chasing them into trees, as well as trampling them. One of the things that I do find quite interesting with bachelor herds is that lions will actually be more likely to target males in bachelor herds than that they are to target individuals within breeding herds. And over the years, I've actually seen some areas where we noticed bachelor herds quite often, but their numbers would diminish. And every few weeks we would discover that one or two more of the members were taken by lions. Well, let's go and see what the others are up to.
Well, we've just left Mariep's now. It makes there's a chance. You might also notice that it is pretty miserable out here. If you look kind of westwards at the moment, it is grey, wet, misty, just not very pleasant at all. This is not nice weather to be in an open game review in, but it's okay. It's kind of the end of the day anyway, so, well, end of the morning drive, so we don't have to worry too much about getting too wet now. We can start to head back home, go and dry off a little bit. Lucky it hasn't been too cold, hey Morgan? Although I see you've got your hands in your sleeves. Oh, shame, is your little fingers cold?
They are.
Oh no.
Puffer jacket. Oh, it's not too cold.
No, it's not just one as well. I've got two on. And poor Morgan is cold in the back there. It's because Morgan also has forgotten to pack long pants for this trip. In fact, the only long pants he's got make him look as though he's a gangster rapper. So.
No, I woke up this morning and it hadn't started raining.
It didn't rain, you're right.
This is great.
It's great, but it's now changed for you, I'm afraid, Morgan, and it's not so great anymore. A lot of you are saying you're happy that we had Reeps to entertain us on a cold morning. Well, I think I am too. It was a very cool sighting of him being a clown. When funny enough, as we were driving out, we saw the zebras just scattering and him like bounding around them, not trying to chase them, but just kind of being himself. And the poor zebras having a mild panic attack over the fact that there was this spotted cat in amongst them. It's quite funny to watch. Who knows where his mom went? His mom, I can't find tracks crossing the boundary into Djuma, so she must be there somewhere close. We'll try this afternoon to see. He's coming very, 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 very close to Djuma now. When we left, he's probably about what do you reckon, 150 meters? Maybe about 150 meters from the boundary of Djuma. So hopefully he'll come in to Djuma this afternoon. We can spend some time with him and maybe Mom as well. I'm sure Mom is going to be terrorizing the local antelope population during the course of today. It's perfect conditions for her to be quite active. So we'll come back into the area and hopefully get lucky. And also hopefully Tessa will be out and can kind of give us a hand. But as I was saying, it's that time of the day where we are going to start heading back to camp. It's been a interesting morning. It kind of seemed at first that we were going to have a frustrating one with everything kind of crossing south. But yeah, we've done all right, Morgan and I. We've heard some buffalo, saw some lions, and then tracked a leopard. And it's not much better than tracking a leopard and then being able to find it. So pretty happy with that. And I mean, Tessa had a line on dam cam, which is always good. And well, JP explored Pridelands on foot, which is always fun and full of excitement too. So hopefully you all enjoyed it, and hopefully there was a little bit of something for all of you that you like, not just leopard or lion fanatics. So from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, and we shall see you this afternoon on our